What up? Sam Sim in the spot, and it is now 3:30 in the morning on a Saturday morning, and I am going to talk about, a lot about spending habits. A lot of people who spend money before they get it, and big shout out to one of my best friends. She has her own YouTube channel as well. She and I, we've been like great friends since 2011, 2012, something like that. But, you know, she lives in San Antonio, and, I'm here in Ohio. So, we talk a lot over the phone about things that we're going through, relationship, and, just life. You know, love her to death. You know, um, anything that I've ever told her, she remembers it. Like if I told her about a friend, a female friend, like she remembers the girl's name. She remembers her bestie's name, and it's just like a lot of things that I've told her. Like when I bring up a story about somebody, so like, oh yeah, I remember her, and her best friend is this, her best friend is that, and I'm like, wow, like this is incredible. Like she has a memory like an elephant. You know what I'm saying? And she's always looking out for my best interests. We look out for each other's best interests. You know what I'm saying? We always show that moral support. A lot of times, like she'll get on me about thinking a certain way or going about something a certain way. And we do that to each other. So for her to be 26 years old now, I give her a lot of credit for, the wisdom that she does have. Um, some of the things that she has said, and just listening to her over the years, it's like, wow, man, yeah, she's gonna be all right. You know what I'm saying? Well, we had a conversation yesterday because we always talk, in the morning before we start our shifts. Sometimes we talk to each other on our lunch breaks, and when we get off work, we'll keep up with each other constantly. So yesterday we had a conversation about just meeting each other and seeing each other, what I'm saying, and just hanging out. She's like, we just need to go ahead and just choose a city, and we both go to that city, and we'll just, hang out and just, kick it out there. And I'm like, all right, well, yeah, as long as I have everything situated up here in Ohio, let me get my funds together, and we'll do this thing. See, that's the problem right there. That's the problem with everybody. It's like everybody's talking about, let me get my money together, let me get my money together. There's no impulse, and I'm like, well, damn, D, shit, it's like we still have to, be accountable for our financial situations and shit, what I'm saying? And I mean, I understand where she's coming from because, we spend our entire life saving. We never get to do anything, because something always comes up. Somebody always wants to borrow money and, all of that shit, man. You never get to enjoy what you have worked hard for, and then when you do a lot of saving, a lot of people look at you as being that type of person who saves 4, 5, 6 months ahead. And then, they run into their issues like my older sister, whose car got repossessed. And, I had to spew out $3,000 to help her with that. And then, she couldn't pay me back, and it's been years now and shit, you know what I'm saying? And it kind of made me not really want to deal with her anymore, you know? And a lot of people in the family, they'll look at you like, well, yeah, you got it like that, you got it like that. And then when you look at their spending habits, you go to their Instagram page, they're eating at expensive restaurants, buying brand new Jordans and, just stunting. But then when you look at them in person and you see their lifestyle in person, they live in an impoverished area, you know, um, they are not financially stable. But yet, if you look at their Instagram page, it's like they have a large assessment of funds. Excuse me. So, I understand where D's coming from because, you only live once. Um, a lot of times, like me and her, there's only actually one time where we actually had a big, big, big disagreement, and it's only because we were both going through something. And my brother and my sister, who are very, very bad when it comes down to spending money. Like my little sister, she's finally caught on to the shit. She's finally caught on to, hey, you gotta be able to save. If you want that television, you better make sure you have enough to buy it 3 times before you buy it one time. Because if you buy it just because you have the money to buy it, you still don't have anything to fall back on. You still don't have a cushion just in case something does happen in the future. So, the one time where her and we fell out because she was going through a lot, I was going through a lot, and, we were just telling each other how to get through it, and I guess we just didn't agree with each other, and we didn't talk for months, for about maybe 6 months, but she always kept in contact with me through my little brother and my little sister, and then, one night she just calls me up, and she's like, yeah, I heard that you got this new job, and I want to congratulate you on it. And I want to, just tell you, that I still, you know, keep up with you. I still check up on you from time to time and shit like that. I was like, wow, you know what I'm saying? And even with her, it's like she has gone through a hell of a lot when it comes down to spending money and doing things, and like she has that concept. Her and my little brother, it's that concept like you only live once, so you gotta just go ahead and do it while you're here, and they're right about that. In a lot of cases, I've seen a lot of people die spending money, and they were happy. And then I know some guys who have died saving money for a special trip, or saving money so they can buy them a car, and they never lived to see it. So all the money that they saved, it was just split between family members. So my little brother, I mean, he has a room dedicated to Jordan. He has like, oh wow, I want to say over $200,000 at the very least worth of Jordan tennis shoes. He wears Jordans every day. He buys other shoes. He buys Adidas and Dunks and things like that as well. But his Jordan collection is crazy. Some Jordans he wears, some he still keeps in the box. He has Yeezys. He has sports memorabilia. He has game worn jerseys from like LeBron James, Sean Kemp. He has autographs galore. Sean Kemp autographed jerseys, a lot of authentic jerseys. Um, he has a hell of a lot of stuff. He's been doing this shit. He's now 32. He's been doing this shit since he was working at McDonald's at the age of 16. And even with him, like he has a lot of financial woes as well. I was just riding with him the other day, and we get out the parking lot, and his car goes off. And he doesn't have gas in his car, and we had to push the car to the gas station. I'm like, what the fuck? Are you serious? This is how you riding? And he was like, oh, man, it ain't all about that. I'm like, come on, man. You got all of these damn Jordans in your room. And then I mean, sometimes he'll sell Jordans on eBay and shit. Whatever. But man, I'm the type of person where, I um, constantly save. And then, like I said, when I find myself saving like that, I get that reputation where, people are like, well, you got it like that. Like this one friend that I know up here, she was fucking around with a loser. And, I mean, this guy has already had like 3 kids with her. And then all of a sudden, like, here comes the 4 kids. She knows she cannot financially support this other kid. So she opts for an abortion because she's dealing with a fucking loser who stays at home with his mom, and she stays at home with her mom and her grandmother. And I told him, like, look like you're gonna be, a mother to a new son or a new daughter. So, she's like, I can't do it. I can't do it. And I'm like, man, I see your spending habits. I see exactly how you are. So, what she does is she gets her grandmother to come over and beg me to loan her the money. I'll pay it, I promise. And I'm like, man, and you don't want to break that relationship with people loaning out money and shit. It's just best to just stay away from a lot of this shit. I mean, I go out, I still, go out and have fun, but I'm very, very conservative about, me going out and splurging and making it rain and all of this crazy shit. You know what I'm saying? The way I carry myself, I'm still able to, have a lot of friends who are, you know, at these clubs, bouncers and exotic dancers. And, I have friends who are rappers who are well known, and even with them, like they say, like, man, you crazy, man, when it comes down to saving money and shit. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? But I'm like, look at you guys, look at you guys, look at the music that you guys do. I wish I could tell you guys some of the artists that I know by name. There's a couple of them I'm actually related to, and all they do is talk about is the amount of money that they have, and I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm fucking your bitch, and the music. I ask people who listen to these artists because when they tell me like, yeah, man, I'm a big fan of such and such, and yeah, he a legend, and yeah, he keep it real and shit, and I'm like, shit, man. If only you knew like how these rappers were in person, I might do a video on that too, but it's like, I even asked, like, man, why do you guys do it? You know, I have someone who I'm very, very close to, well known rapper. Um, and I asked some of his fans as well, like, why do you guys do this, man? Like, you talk about the excessive amount of money that you guys have, and, like a lot of artists who do it, their fans don't have that type of money. And then I ask the fans, it's like, it helps me to feel good. It keeps me pumped. It keeps me turned up. And it's the same with the artists. It's like, yeah, man, I gotta rap about this because it gives people something to look forward to. It's like a medicine to them. If they don't have this, if they living, if they're listening to songs talking about everyday life, talking about the struggles and things that we go through, it's just gonna, help them to just feel that much worse. It's not going to motivate them, but I mean, you're not motivating them either, nigga. All you doing is talking about, I got the Lamborghini, I got the Maserati, you ain't rocking like this, you ain't doing it like this, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, well, okay, man, I still don't get it. You know what I'm saying? I don't understand it. Shout out to the homegirls out there, man, who are ladylike and who are go getters. And shout out to the brothers out there too, man, who are conservative with their funds, trying to save to get them a house, buy them a nice car. Because even with me, like, I had to work hard to get that SS. And then like a week after I bought the SS, I bought me a Saturn, an old school Saturn SL1, because I didn't want to put highway miles. Well, not miles, like regular miles. The only thing I wanted to do is put highway miles and keep the miles low on my SS because it was a classic, you know. And oh man, you know, I just don't see why other people just don't think like that. That's how rich people, that's how the elite are able to get where they are. Like, they constantly are concerned about the funds in their bank accounts. They never ever are known for being like extra liberal when it comes to their money. It's always the poor people who feel like they got to keep up with the Joneses. You know what I'm saying? Like I say, like, go to their fucking Instagram page. It's always some flamboyant shit. And then, like, a couple of the millionaire friends that I do have, these white guys, man, they wear the same raggedy fucking jeans like twice a week. They, like, their Instagram pages, you would just think that they was an average Joe. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, they always telling me, they're like, yeah, man, I like your way of thinking as far as like how you are conservative when it comes down to your money. I like your concept. If you can't buy it 3 times, then don't buy it once. And I love how you are consistent. I mean, I get a lot of respect for being that way, but it's also a curse as well because a lot of people who are on the lower end, it's like, man, I'll pay you back, and they never ever do. So you got to take a lot of things as a loss. And then when you look at their Instagram page, it's that emotional shit that they have with them where, they have to feel confident, they have to feel good, they have to compete with everybody else. So it's like, hey, look at me, I'm standing in front of this Mercedes Benz that's not even mine. Look at this money, you know what I'm saying? And, when you meet these people in person, they're not living like that. So that's what I hate about a lot of fucking people in this day and age, because that's the way social media is built, and that's why we have such a surge of artists. I don't even want to call them artists, but just a surge of people with no talent, and they're doing the same thing. Like they're emulating other people who have original concepts, original talent, and everybody wants to feel important these days. But in order to really have that sense of feeling important, it takes a lot of sacrifice, and a lot of people, they don't want to go through it. It's not too many people out there like me, I guess, anymore, and I've heard that a lot. Like, I hear a lot of older folks and, just people in general, like they speak about my patience, and they tend to say, man, you are a great man with a lot of patience and shit. And it's not easy. You know what I'm saying? It's not easy. Like, I mean, I understood this when I was in, like, my late teens, early 20s. Like, it's not going to be a walk in the park. Like, I did a hell of a lot of saving. All of my brothers and sisters would go out to the club, and, they all drove their car, and I was saving up to get me, just some nice flamboyant shit, and then when I got it, all of their friends and, their significant others were like, man, man, I've been watching you, man. I'm so proud of you, the way you do it. And, even when I would go out to the clubs, a lot of the D-boys, a lot of the big timers, the guys who would sell to the D-boys, they would look at how I moved even in there, and they would see how I would, kind of like keep to myself, got my own circle, and, like these guys will pull me over to the side, like, man, I like you, man. I like how you are when it comes down to your money and shit like that. Like, the other guys would just be like, man, you always working that fucking job and shit, and these niggas was making like 5,000 a week. They would even ask me like, man, how much you got off that DMP check? 1,500. Man, you could have made 15,000. You know what I'm saying? All you had to do is sit in this pack over here, yeah. And like I just wouldn't fuck with them. And then, like their bosses, like the top bosses, would come out off to me and pull me off to the side, like, man, look, you need anything, let me know. And luckily I didn't do it, because then, the feds came and, they've been watching them for years and took all of their money, emptied all of their accounts. And, now these guys are doing time. They're doing fed time. So, I mean, it takes a lot of patience, a lot of sacrifice. It's not worth keeping up with the trends and the Joneses. Like my brother with all these damn Jordan shoes and shit. You know what I'm saying? Every time you turn around, this nigga is buying new clothes. But then, when the rent come up, it's like, you scrambling for that. Now you got to get another fucking job, and it's like, man, why do you guys do this shit? I can't tell you how many people, they tell me that they're in debt, and when they tell me that they're in debt like that, I always think to myself, like, man, what did you do? What did you do? Was it a spending habit, or is it because, you're like me, and you're too nice? Like, you see people who are going through some shit, and, you try to be cool with them, and you try to be nice with them. But see, I don't really do that no more. Now I show tough love, because now when I look at the way you spend your money, it's like, oh no, this shit is going to be a detriment to, what I'm trying to do on my end. And they got scums out there who you know, they'll go out and buy them some Jordans or Gucci purses, knowing that they owe you some money. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna go ahead and end this video real quick because my homegirl, she's like, yeah, man, you can't keep your videos too long. Yeah. So yeah, man, shout out again to Desiree. You know what I'm saying? We got that Tupac and Jada relationship. You know what I'm saying? We'll never ever date or anything like that. Like, I don't know. I don't think it'll happen. Like, we know too much about each other. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I understand where she's coming from with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, she knows how I live, and she knows that things come up, and it takes us out of our happiness, and that's why we do the things that we do, as far as get on Instagram and brag about the money that we don't have. So, love you, D. You know what I'm saying? And we'll probably be talking again today. We talk every single day, about different things. So, you guys be cool. I'm gonna go ahead and take me a jog. And enjoy your weekend. Be safe. Sam. Peace.